Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Shruti Sharma.
Hello friends, this is Vijay. Welcome to ForumIAS Hindu Daily. In our today's news discussion, we are going to see the topics in the slide. As you all well known, in today's newspaper, we don't have any science related article and explanatory page. That's what I handpicked only these 5 articles. The first one, Economy on Autopilot, won't overheat for years. It came in the front page. Then the second topic, the necessity of electricity distribution companies. Then the third one, a pragmatic approach for better India-Nepal ties. These 2 topics already we had discussed in our last week discussion. Anyway, it came in the editorial section. So let us have a brief. The fourth one, Railway renews push for safety training among staffs. Catastrophe, we all well known, it happened in Odisha in the last week. Therefore, Railway these days have been insisting upon more safety in their traffic lines. Then the last one, piped potable water across India will avert 4,000 diarrhea deaths, finds WHO. So potable water means the healthy water that you can drink. So this is what the potable water. So the parameters in the potable water like salinity, dissolved oxygen, everything will be normal according to the WHO guidelines. So this is the potable water. So it is all about the Jal Jeevan mission. So let us have a brief about the mission in this article in our today's discussion. Now without any delay, let us dive into the discussion part. This is the first article, Economy on Autopilot won't overheat for years. So the CEA, Chief Economic Advisor V. Anantha Nageshwaran, he have been stating that for the next 7 years, the India's GDP growth will be between 6.5 to 7%. So he is stating that for the year 2022 to 2023, the estimated 7.2% GDP growth will be an underestimate. So this is what he have been stating. So previously they had predicted that the GDP will be in the range of 7.2%, but he is stating that the economy is showing some positive signs. Therefore, the growth will be more compared to what the officials predicted. Then he is stating that for the next 7 years, India is going to perform as like China did between the 1979 to 2008. So between 1979 to 2008, the Chinese economic growth has been between 7 to 9%, and in some years it can touch even 13%. So this is what he have been comparing with the India's growth for the next 7 years. Here he have been showing that what are the positive signs Indian economy have been witnessing. So the private consumption, it have been escalating. Then the growth rate since the pandemic is also getting caught up. So these are all the few positive signs which will thrust the economy to grow above the 7% level. And he is also stating that without any reforms in the labor market, then in the finance sector, this economic growth will be attained for the next 7 years. But if we are putting up some reforms in the labor sector, then in the financial sector means, then the growth will be above 7.5% to 8%. So this is what he have been stating here, right? Now, with respect to this article, let us discuss what are the factors behind the positive growth of Indian economy. So here are some factors for the India's predicted growth. The first one, the lower the debt to GDP ratio, likely the country will pay back its debt and the lower its risk of default, which could cause financial stability in the domestic and the international market. What it means? The debt to GDP ratio with respect to India in the year of 2014 is 67%. Cumulatively, the central and state government, they were owing 67% as a debt to GDP. Then after the pandemic, especially during the pandemic era, 2022 to 2021, it skyrocketed to 88%. Okay, the debt to GDP ratio, it escalated to 88%. Then right now, in 2023, the debt to GDP ratio, it softened to 84%. So right now we are having 84% of debt to GDP ratio and it start coming down. So he is stating that in the course of time for the next 7 years, the debt to GDP ratio will also soften. So it is a positive sign for the Indian economy. Secondly, bank credit has been growing in double digits for 8 months now, reflecting in part an uptick in investment appetite. So, when the demand is more, the industries will be asking for more credit from the banks. Right now, the bank's credit is in the range of double digit. Right now, it is in the range of 15%. So, the growth is 15% in the banking sector. Therefore, he is stating that already the demand started picking up. Therefore, in the future, the supply will also escalated. Therefore, the growth will also attain the 7% rate. Then the thirdly, agriculture has been a sustained driver for overall GDP growth with the Rabi outlook showing good prospects for wheat production with higher support prices. Already we are having adequate reservoir levels. So the climate factors also supported the higher acreage. So in the upcoming years, we will be having a more productivity in the agriculture sector also. Then the China plus one strategy. Most of the industries belongs to the Western European countries and the US. They are moving to India, especially in the low skilled and unskilled labor intensive manufacturing space like textiles, shoe, leather, ceramics. These areas, they are requiring low skill or unskilled labor. So the industries who are operating in China, they are moving towards India, and India is having a better chance to fill the vacuum it is already prevailing. Then the last one, softening of crowd. Import bills, it have been coming down, especially with the Russia's offer of low price crude oil to India. So after the Ukraine crisis, the Western European countries and the US, they imposed sanctions on Russian crude oil, and Russia offered very low price of crude oil to India, and India have been importing the Russian crude oil. Right now, 15% of the fossil fuel basket is getting fulfilled from the Russian market, and Russia is supplying enormous crude oil to India these days. That's what he have been stating, that Russia is also providing low price crude oil, and already the global market is also dwindling. So we are having better crude oil prices for this year. Therefore, there won't be any issue for the growth what we are supposed to achieve. So anyway, if the bills are low means obviously the amount of dollars what we are supposed to spend will come down, right? So it is a healthy sign for the forex reserves. That's it, guys. Now with this note, let us move on to the next article. This is the second article. The article title is Necessity of Electricity Distribution Companies. Here in the schema, it have been showing the generation, transmission and distribution component of the electricity in India. And in the generation, we are having multiple sources like hydro, coal and nuclear. And in the transmission line, the high voltage will be transmitted to the substation. In the substation, voltage conversion will be happening. Why we need to transport the electricity in high voltage means it will bring down the losses what we are incurring in the transmission and distribution lines. So in the distribution end, further conversion will happen, and the residential, commercial and industrial users, they will be getting the required power what they are offered by the discoms. And here in the intro part, in the article, let us do a trifurcation here. So in the intro part, the author have been discussing about the enactment of Electricity Act 2003. What it paved for? It actually dismantled the state electricity boards. So the state electricity boards were dismantled after the enactment of Electricity Act 2003. Then it trifurcated the schema, the generation, distribution and transmission. These three things were trifurcated and they were made into a separate entities. And the electricity generation was delicensed. Before the enactment of Electricity Act 2003, the generation component was licensed. But after the enactment, it was delicensed. So even you and me can generate the electricity without requiring any certificates from the electricity boards. But for transmission and distribution, still there is a license provision. So if any entity, if they want to participate in the distribution or transmission component means, then they need to get the approval from the electricity boards. Then here they have been discussing about the power purchase agreements. Actually, the Electricity Act 2003, it paved the way for the power purchase agreements. Under the power purchase agreements, the discoms will be entered into the agreement with the generators. So the low tariff will be applicable to the consumers, right? We all will know we are paying a very low tariff in almost all the states. So how we are getting the low tariff means the generators will be quoting the amount. So the lowest will be availed the offer from the discoms, and the discoms, they will purchase the power from the generators and they will be distributing to us. And here in the UK model, what they have been discussing. In the UK, there is one system, okay, the pool pricing. So what is pool pricing, guys? Pool pricing is nothing but, suppose let's say some 5 generators are there, okay, and the government have been predicting the demand, okay, then it will ask for the quote from each and every generators, and they will be providing certain rates. Let's say the demand of UK is 1000 megawatts. Some five companies are there and they are providing, they can generate up to, one company is giving they can generate 100 megawatt, and one it is saying 200 megawatt it can generate, and some company it says 600 megawatt, and another company says 800, and the last company is saying it can generate 1000 megawatt, and for 1000 megawatt it is saying that 7 rupees per unit it can provide. Okay, so what it actually means, the single largest supplier and their rate will be applicable to all the other generators. So if he is quoting 7 rupee, means the same 7 rupee will be given to all these agencies. Okay, so this is how the pool pricing have been functioning in UK, and we can't adapt the pool pricing mechanism what they are having in UK in Indian atmosphere. What is the issue means, here actually we are doing a cross subsidy. So this is what they have been discussing here. In this portion they have been discussing about the cross subsidy. What is cross subsidy? You all well known, the commercial agencies, they will be paying higher price for the electricity. But as a domestic consumers, we will be paying very low amount. Actually, they are charging hefty amounts from the commercial consumers, and they are subsidizing the domestic consumers. So this is what it has been happening in India. Also, with respect to the power purchase agreements, the power which have been producing by the new generators and all will be very costly. Why they are very costly? There are 2 prices are there. One is fixed cost, then the next one is running cost. Okay, so these 2 costs it will be calculated while formulating the power purchase agreements. With respect to the old generator units, the fixed cost will be very low because the capital will be depreciated. Therefore, the power output from the old generator units will be very low pricing. The new generator units will be giving the hefty price to the discoms. So this is what it have been discussed here. In India, we are entering the power purchase agreements and we are procuring the power from the old generator units. Therefore, we are able to provide the low cost power to the consumers. But if we are adopting the pool pricing mechanism, means we will be ending up in paying higher cost to the old generators also. Therefore, it will shoot up the price of the electricity in Indian atmosphere. So therefore, the mechanism won't suit like that. The author have been discussing in this portion. Then he is stating that the energy transition to renewables have been accelerating and we can expect the power reliability in the future. Also, he is stating that there are several issues have been crumbling the discoms, especially the political parties. They are availing some freebies to the consumers, right? Some 200 units free, 300 units free, like that. They are giving the freebies in their election manifesto. So it have been affecting the health of the discoms. This is what he have been discussing here. Then with respect to this article, guys, better you should go through the Uday scheme. It came in the year of 2018 and it have been specifically focusing on the unhealthy discoms in India, right? So now let us discuss the challenges what we are facing in the electricity sector. These are all the challenges the electricity sector have been facing in India. The first challenge is coal supply is restricted in the domestic. So therefore we are depending upon the imported coal, and the imported coal is highly cost effective and the energy value is very high compared to the domestic coal what we are procuring from the Chota Nagpur Plateau region. Apart from that, the Coal India is able to satisfy only 65% of the coal requirement. For the remaining 35%, we are depending upon the private players. So these private players, they are profit motive. Therefore, the generation cost have been shooting up. Then the second one, India's aggregate technical and commercial losses average about 32% of the electricity. That too, for the developed countries, it is in the range of 6 to 11%. So for every single unit of generation, we are getting only 0.7 units in the consumer end. So 0.3 units have been dissipated in the form of heat. So this is very high compared to the rest of the countries. Then the third one, populist tariff schemes and the operational inefficiencies. Almost 60% of the power plants in India, they are aged. They are comparatively 30 years higher than the rest of the plants. So the tariff schemes, the populist tariff schemes means each and every state government or every political party in the election manifesto, they have been announcing some freebies for the power, right? So these freebies, it have been taking a toll on the state discoms. So this is what it have been discussed here, and it have been leading to highest debt in the discoms, which in further course have been paving the way for operational inefficiencies. Then the fourth one, most of the power plants and transmission lines have been installed immediately after independence. They have become old and inefficient. So the transmission lines, what we are having is almost 70 years old. Therefore, they are becoming highly inefficient. Lastly, multiple ministries and agencies are currently involved in managing every energy related issue, presenting challenges of coordination and optimal resource utilization, hence undermining efforts to increase energy security as reported by the Kelkar Committee in 2013. So this Kelkar Committee, it has shown that various ministries have been operating in the power domain. Like we are having Ministry of Power, then MNRE is there, right? Below these ministries, various agencies also operating. So it have been creating a confusion in the coordination among the agencies. Lastly, the absence of synchronization of grids. In India, we hadn't yet synchronized the grids, right? So in India, based on region, we are having some 5 grids, the one in north and another one in south, then eastern grid is there, then western grid. For the northeastern region, we are having the northeastern grid. So in certain grid portion, the generation is very high, and in some grids, the consumption of the electricity is very high. But we don't have proper synchronization among these grids, so there is a huge wastage of the power generation. So these are all the challenges we are facing, guys. Now with this note, let us move on to the next article. This is the third article, guys. Article title is A Pragmatic Approach for Better India-Nepal Ties, and you no need to go through these lines, okay? So these are all pure scrap, and we no need to go through it. And in this portion, they have been discussing about some 4 basic areas of cooperation. Here they have been discussing about the various avenues which is available for the cooperation. And here they have been discussing about the Pancheshwar Multipurpose Project. We all well known, the historical project was finalized, and the detailed project report it will be submitted to both the governments in the near future, and the related finance and the implementation module, everything have been arranged. Then here they have been discussing about the power domain. So Nepal is going to export the power to Bangladesh, right? So they are not in a geographical proximity. So now Nepal is relying on the Indian grids for transporting the power to Bangladesh. It will be transport the power to India, and India will be giving back the power to the Bangladesh. So this is what this mechanism have been envisioned. And Nepal, it is also going to enter an agreement with India for 10,000 megawatts. So with India also, Nepal is arriving at an agreement for exporting 10,000 megawatt of power for the next 10 years. And here they have been discussing about the UPI. So India's NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India, then Nepal Clearing House. So these 2 agencies, they arrived at a MOU for enabling a cross-border digital payments. And apart from that, India is also going to offer 300 user terminals to Nepal. So these 300 user terminals, they will gather the data from the South Asian satellite, right? So these 300 user terminals will be gathering the data from the South Asian satellite, and it will propel the growth in the space sector, telemedicine, tele-education, then meteorological data transmission within the Nepal. So this is what India is going to offer. And in this portion, what should be the way forward for Nepal and India had been given by the author. For Nepal, it need to depoliticize the cooperation with India, and they need to cooperate more in the water resources with India. This is what they have been given. And for India, they have been stating that it should prioritize the relationship with Nepal. This is the idea which was given by the author to the India. And now with this note, let us move on to the next slide. The Indo-Nepal there are various areas of cooperations are there. The first one is power cooperation. India and Nepal have robust cooperation in the power sector. 3 cross-border transmission lines were completed recently with the Government of India's assistance. The first one is 400 kV Muzaffarpur and Dalkebar line, which was completed in the year of 2016. Then 132 kV Kataya and Kushaha, then Raxol Parvanipur lines, these were completed in the year of 2017. Now, we also finalized the Pancheshwar project, then 10,000 megawatt of power imports have been approved from the Nepal. Secondly, a total of 6,000 megawatt of power is currently being supplied by India to Nepal through different transmission lines, assisting Nepal to overcome power shortages. Already they are having the huge potential, but the generation is very low. That's what India have been exporting 600 megawatt of power. But in the future, it is predicted that India will be importing 10,000 megawatt of power from Nepal. The Government of India has granted permission to Nepal Electricity Authority in November 2021 to sell its surplus energy under cross-border trade of electricity guidelines. Then with respect to the trade and economic ties, India remains the Nepal's largest trade partner, and the USD value of trade is $7 billion. So in Indian currency, it will amount to 56,000 crore. And India's exports to Nepal will come around 53,000 crore. And Nepal have been exporting around 3,000 crore worth of products. Right? And apart from these things, India also provides transit for the entire trade between the Nepal and the rest of the world. Then fourth point, India firms are among the largest investors in Nepal, accounting for more than 33% of the total FDI in Nepal, worth nearly $500 million. India and Nepal, they have also signed the DTAA agreement in the year of 2011. Apart from that, India acting as a prime source of remittance for Nepal. So in the Nepal, India occupies the number 1 position with respect to the pumping out of the remittance, which means in the remittance basket of Nepal, India accumulates 28%. So 28% of the Nepal's remittances, it comes from India. Lastly, in April 2018, the India-Nepal new partnership in agriculture was launched with a focus on collaborative projects in agriculture research, development and education. So that's it guys. With this note, let us move on to the next article. This is the 4th article guys. Railways renews push for safety training among staff. We all well known in the last week a catastrophe happened in Odisha. So that's what in recent times the railway came up with several safety aspects. And here they had given 2 facts. The first one, they are going to handpick senior train manager and the section controller who are having the best practices as a resource person, and they will be training the other colleagues in the station for enhancing the alertness and compliance of the mechanisms what they are having in action. Secondly, they actually ban the usage of the smartwatches in the workplace, which means they are banning the usage of the smartwatches by the loco pilot when he is in operation, because it have been creating lot of confusions while operating the train, that too in the range of 110 km per hour. So these are the 2 facts it had been given in this article, right? Now with this note, in the last week discussion, we had discussed about several committee recommendations and what are the issues pertaining in the railways. Today, let us have a brief recap about the reasons for the mishaps. The first one, Indian Railway is being systematically damaged by successive governments because of the lack of understanding of this organization potential. This organization have been employing 1.54 million Indians in the workforce. So it is one of the largest employer in the world, but most of the governments who are coming to power in the central, they are not realizing the actual potential of the railway. So this is the first reason for the mishaps in the railways. Secondly, Indian Railways needs to be benchmarked to the Japanese railway system, Shinkansen. Since 1964, it has been carrying millions of passengers with zero fatality. So almost 60 years it has been in operation, but it doesn't have any single fatality. So we need to take the best practices from the Shinkansen to the Indian railway landscape. Thirdly, the present problem of the railway is that the organization is on the verge of bankruptcy. Because of the hefty losses in the passenger traffic, the railway is losing its resource base. Biggest worry is safety, as the depreciation reserve fund and the development fund are getting depleted since the railways are cashed out. As I already told you, railway is fetching profits in the freight traffic, but with respect to the passenger traffic, it have been incurring losses and it is following the cross subsidy policy. So because of this scenario, the depreciation reserve fund and the development fund are already cashed out, so it couldn't able to take enormous activities for ensuring the safety. Fourthly, the railways are not generating enough operating cash surpluses to meet even daily operating expenses. To replace an old asset, you need to put money in the DRF. They are not operating at the efficient level, so they don't have cash surplus. Therefore, they couldn't able to replace the tracks, rolling stocks and the signaling systems. You see guys, railway is having 1,24,000 kilometer rail lines. Okay, for every year they need to replace some 5,000 kilometer of railway lines, but they are replacing only around 1,200 kilometer. Okay, then lastly, on an average, the system requires 20,000 to 25,000 crore year after year to replace old assets. Instead of that, a provision has been made for a mere 3,200 crore for the DRF in the 2016 budget itself. Therefore, the much required replacement of old asset is postponed. We all well known, we are compromising the safety. That's it guys. With this note, let us move on to the next article. This is the last article. Piped potable water across India will avert 4,000 diarrhea deaths, finds WHO. So, in the WHO article, they says that if India is fully implementing the Jal Jeevan mission, means it will be averting 4,000 diarrhea deaths. Also, it will save 40 million DALI. DALI means disability adjusted life years. Let's say in company 50 employees are operating. So 5 employees are taking a leave because of diarrhea, means 5 DALI the company have been losing. So the productivity of 5 labor days have been losing. So this is what the term DALI refers. And with this measure, India can also save 101 billion US dollar every year because of the aversion of the 14 million DALIs. So this is what it have been discussed here. Then they have been stating what is meant by the functional type water. So the fully functional type water connection is defined as each and every citizen, if he is getting 55 liters of potable water per day, means then it will be termed as a fully functional tape water connection. Then here they have been stating that right now India had completed 62% of the target what we envisioned under the Jal Jeevan mission. So almost 12.3 crore households had been provided with fully functional tape water connection, and the government is stating that by the end of 2024, each and every household in India will be having a potable water connection. Then the central government's report, it also reveals that the states like Gujarat, Telangana, Haryana, Punjab have already attained full coverage of the mission. Apart from that, 3 union territories also achieved 100% coverage. One is Andaman and Nicobar, then Daman and Diu, then Puducherry. These 3 union territories also achieved full coverage of the mission. And with respect to the conversion rate, what we have investing in the Jal Jeevan mission, for every single dollar what we are invested, we will be getting $4.3 in return in the form of the healthcare cost. So this is what it had been given in the report. And with respect to the Jal Jeevan mission, this is the aim. The mission ensures functionality of existing water supply systems, water connections, water quality monitoring, testing, as well as a sustainable agriculture. So it have been envisioning to coordinate all the systems in the water supply chain. Then it also ensures conjunctive use of conserved water. What is conserved water? In certain regions, we are following the principle of rainwater harvesting, right? So these conserved water and all will be augmented in the supply chain. Then it have been focusing on the drinking water source augmentation, then drinking water supply system, then the grey water treatment. What is the grey water treatment? The wastewater will be treated and it will be used for the agriculture purposes. Then what are the futures of the Jal Jeevan mission? Jal Jeevan mission, it focuses on the integrated demand and supply chain management of water at the local level. Then creation of local infrastructure for source sustainability, measures as mandatory elements like rainwater harvesting, groundwater recharge, then the management of household water for reuse, is undertaken with the government programs and schemes. So various schemes have been getting converged under the Jal Jeevan mission and the entire system have been streamlined. Then the mission is based on a community approach to water and includes extensive information, education and communication as a key component of the mission. Apart from these mechanisms, the Jal Jeevan mission, it has also put in the place the IEC component, which is information, education and communication. So here the awareness creation and all will be happen under the Jal Jeevan mission in each and every villages. With respect to the implementation of Jal Jeevan mission, Pani Samitis will be operating in each and every village. So they will plan, they will implement, they will manage the resources and they will operate and maintain the village water supply systems. These Pani Samitis will be consist of 10 to 15 members. Among them, 50% will be women and it will also include the members from the self-help groups, ASHA workers, Anganwadi teachers, etc. These committees prepare a one-time village action plan and merging all available village resources. So what they are doing, they will augment the resource and they will calculate how they can spend the resource and they will implement the plan. So this is what they have been working. The plan is approved in a Gram Sabha before implementation. So before the implementation of each and every sub-plans, they need to get the approval from the Grama Sabha. These Grama Sabha, it will be acting as a scrutinizing committee. Then, as we all well known, Jal Jeevan mission is a centrally sponsored scheme. So they are keeping two funding mechanisms, right? So one is for the Himalayan and northeastern states where the funding arrangement is between 90:10. So the 90% of the resources will be provided by the central government and 10% should be incurred by the states. Then for the rest of the states, it is a 50-50 proportion. 50% it will come from the center and 50% it will come from the states. Then as we all well know, there is a 100% funding from the central government for the union territories. So this is all about the Jal Jeevan mission. Now with this note, let us move on to the question part. This is the first question. Consider the following fauna. The lion-tailed macaque, Malabar civet and sambar deer. How many of the above are generally nocturnal or most active after sunset? If the mammal is very active means it will be termed as a diurnal. And if it is very active in the night means it will be termed as a nocturnal. So with respect to lion-tailed macaque, it is a diurnal nature, so it can be eliminated. And Malabar civet, it is a critically endangered mammal, and this is nocturnal. Then sambar deer is vulnerable, IUCN vulnerable status. This is also nocturnal. So these two are correct. Answer option B is the right one for question number 1. Then this is the second question. Consider the following statements. The statement 1, carbon markets are likely to be one of the most widespread tools in the fight against the climate change. This is true. Then carbon markets transfer resources from the private sector to the state. So this is also true. Which of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? Both the statements are true, but statement 2 is not a correct explanation to the statement 1, right? So therefore, answer option B is the right one for the question number 2. Generally, in carbon markets, they will be operating based upon the surplus and the demand. Here, the transfer of resource will be happen. But statement 2 is not the right explanation for the statement 1. Therefore, the answer option B is the right one for question number 2. Then this is the third question. Who among the following rulers of the Vijayanagar Empire constructed a large dam across the Tungabhadra river and a canal cum aqueduct several kilometers long from a river to the capital city? So here, this is a pure factual question. So the answer option A is the right one. Devaraya I is the king of Vijayanagar Empire. He built a large dam across the Tungabhadra river and he also constructed the canal cum aqueduct for several kilometers from the river to the capital city. So the answer option A is the right one for question number 3. Now with this note, we are arriving at the end of the discussion. Thank you for your patience. Kindly give us some feedback and press the like button and subscribe to ForumIAS. Let me catch you in another session tomorrow. Bye.